Hey guys, welcome to the tribe. I'm Zandy Smith,
I'm Stephen Lee.
and today we're going to talk about numerous things.
Numerous things, to be honest, but I think the main topic was inflation. We're going to talk about inflation
Yes,
and inflation compared to our travels outside of America.
right. But before we get started,
Yes.
I would like to start with an affirmation for the day.
hmm
And the affirmation is I am protected at all times.
I am protected at all times. This is a beautiful practice, just affirmations in the morning. Get your day started, get the juices flowing, all right?
Exactly.
So I'll repeat that probably maybe like 5 or 6 times.
Yes.
Or as much as you want during the day, because again, it's a reprogramming mechanism,
Mhm.
and it can get your mind back.
So let's jump into it.
Let's jump into it.
Inflation. Inflation.
Would you want to
So
start?
you can start.
Okay. Inflation in regards to America
Okay.
is probably a lot more different than we witnessed because we were gone for about 6 months out of the year last year,
Right.
and experiencing the cheap side of the world, or your money from America going further than it does in America. So
Right.
inflation is the act of creating more money out of thin air. Money is supposed to represent something. Usually money represents a hard asset like gold, silver, oil, and
Right.
whatnot. So when you're just printing money with nothing backing it, that's when we call inflation.
Right.
And it causes prices to go up and things like that. Everything that means.
Exactly. Inflation has been, well, it's been on the rise for the past couple of years, but I think we've been seeing it tremendously, especially this year, last year. Just seeing the increases with gas prices, with food. I mean, you name it.
Yeah.
The bills.
Yeah, I think after
Like,
COVID, it was like
yeah,
when
it,
COVID hit, it
yeah,
was over. Like inflation,
yeah,
like went through the roof. Like, and like I think like for us, it's probably a little easier. But when I look out into the world of people who have like 5 or 6 kids, I'm like,
right.
wow. Like I think it's bad for me, but when I look at them, I'm like, whoa,
Well,
it's crazy. So,
and I think for us, especially coming from America, we tend to not necessarily focus too much on the spending of things.
yeah,
We just focus on the things.
yeah,
So because of that, we've actually saw an increase of, okay, the amount of things that we're paying for, but the amount of money that we're
paying
putting it
for it.
towards.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's interesting to see, especially when you go to different countries,
yeah.
whether it's Colombia or whether it is
Egypt,
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica.
So it's like all of these different places where we've been able to see the dollar and compare it to their currency and how it's been such a really
Yeah.
significant change.
But I think
So
it's important to note that when you're outside of the country, how far your dollar really
yes,
goes. When you're here, you're working just to survive. But when you leave the country and you go to these other countries and you spend your money, you get way more bang for your buck.
right,
Which is changing now because the dollar's dominance is kind of failing with all these different things happening in Saudi Arabia and oil and all that good stuff. So we're
exactly.
seeing a tremendous change, not only in America, but all over the world.
So what are some ways we can kind of,
Interact it.
yeah, like as people, what are some ways that we can kind of reserve and, really save ourselves, just in case it does turn into a Venezuela?
Right. I think pulling back on what is not a necessity for you. Like we have, like in America, we overindulge we have too much stuff, and we plan on getting too much stuff and doing too much stuff.
Right,
So if we can scale back, and once you scale back, maybe the extra money that you have, you could possibly put it into some type of asset, maybe
right,
gold, silver, crypto, maybe something that'll save your wealth.
right,
But for now, scaling back is the most important thing. Also, I actually seen something like coupon. Some people
yes,
coupon and actually make their lives 10 times easier. It's still a thing, and you shouldn't be embarrassed by it.
right. Agree. I definitely agree with scaling back. I
Yeah.
feel like right now it's just the most important time to really start saving.
Yeah.
Just because we don't know where, especially with the presidential election that's coming up, we don't know where things are going to be. So the best thing is to kind of save, make smart choices with investing, because investing could be tricky. I mean, you could do cryptocurrency, but as we've seen,
up and
we've
down.
seen it up and down, and we've seen a lot of people who unfortunately lost their wallets or
Yeah.
lost access to their ledger or
Yeah.
whatever the case may be.
Those are
So-
things that you need to actually know how
Absolutely.
to do before you jump into it. You could always buy a piece of gold or silver, but when
Right.
it comes to crypto, it's very technological.
It's just like stocks.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say scale back.
Mm.
Another thing too, I hate to say it, but probably find more than one stream of income.
Yeah, definitely. Don't hate to
because it
say
could-
it. That's
I mean, of course,
yeah.
but like, you know, I mean, a year ago, a couple
Yeah.
years ago, all
were
you needed
able
was
to-
one job, and you know, it's unfortunate, but like, you know, now we see, you know, the road that we are actually going down, like, especially when it comes to BRICS and it comes to all of these other countries that are really looking at the dollar and saying, hey, we actually don't need that anymore. We can actually come in with our own currency, or we can have our neighbors, or which is our alliances, and we can help them as they help us. So yeah, I mean, I would probably say that would be like the best way to kind of reserve and also to save your money.
So let's segue. I want to ask you a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to segue into, because you brought up the presidential election.
Right.
How do you feel about the elections overall, and how it relates to us and the world, like globally? How do you feel about it, just in general?
It's a lot to unpack. It's definitely something that has been a charade, I would say. When you look at President Trump, and you see, you know, his whole challenges that he's been going through, and unfortunately we've seen Biden. I don't have to really speak too much on that. You can see for yourself. But, you know, the point is that, you know, we're living in times where we're starting to see the veil lift. So things are no longer as cookie cut or as perfect or as hidden behind the scenes as it once was, where we're actually seeing people that are coming into office and we're realizing they're human just like us. Biden is a prime example of someone. He could be your grandpa, you know, like, you know, just someone who's going through
somebody you're going to visit at a home.
Exactly. Yeah. So, you know, for me, I would probably say, especially being someone who's worked in the political kind of sector, I'd probably say, you know, it's going to be one of the most, like, huge presidential elections, like, ever, because of the tactics and because of everything that's obviously came about, you know, within the past couple of years.
I think smoke and mirrors.
It's gonna fall.
I think this, like you said, the veil is lifting. Smoke and mirrors is obviously obvious, but now I feel like our awareness is so high that even in their best acting, we can see right through it. Like, I used to be like, oh, I like Trump, like I'm down with Trump, like whatever the case is. And although I think he's way more cognitively aware than Biden, he might have his faculties about him way more than Biden does. But I've realized that I've always known, but then I got sunk into it. But it's all smoke and mirrors. Like, they disagree on a lot of things, but you need to look at what they agree on. There's one specific thing that they agree on that none of us should agree on, because it's not America first. It's not putting us first. Us as a country need to be first before anything. You read between the lines and you figure out what they all agree on, and you'll know what I'm talking about. And in all reality, all the smoke and mirrors, and we need to get ourselves right. As a people, we have more rights than we understand under the Constitution, that we need to study beyond what the election is. And local elections matter even more so.
Word of the day. Word of the day. Ineffable. Too great or extreme to be described in words.
Ineffable. So, like, we're going to be doing these words of the day.
Yes.
We're also going to be doing different languages, a word from a different language. I think you said Spanish,
Portuguese and Spanish. I'm currently learning Spanish and Portuguese. And we'll be discussing that obviously towards the end. But ineffable. And how would you describe that in a sentence?
Ineffable. Me.
Okay.
I'm too great to describe in words. I am ineffable. But yeah, that's probably the easiest way when you put your ego into it. But the universe is ineffable. It's too great to describe in words. We try with poetry, music. No, it is.
I like that. Yeah, I was gonna say nature is
nature
ineffable.
is ineffable.
I was gonna, yeah.
Nature
Yeah.
is ineffable. It is though. Like a lot of these things
Yeah.
are very hard to describe in words.
Hard to
And we
describe.
try our hardest, like through poetry,
Yeah.
writing, whatever we can.
But yeah, that's our word of the day.
Word of the day, Ineffable.
But yeah, but just going back to inflation, just to kind of close off on that topic,
Yeah.
you know, it is extremely important to be aware, to be just to be around people who have common interests and who are also studying what's going on with the markets and what's going on with where we are today.
Yeah.
Due to the fact that it's just great to be in the knowing.
Yeah.
You would hate to be in a situation where you don't know and then it turns into like this war.
Yeah. It's a balance. I think
it's definitely a balance.
Yeah, to know, but not be too caught up in.
Right.
To know and be aware and to make the proper decisions, which you need to make, like with the information that you're given, but also not being so sunk into it that you're like, oh, this is all that's happening. It's like, no, there's always a way.
Right. I like that.
Yeah. So, okay, I got one more topic that I'm going to touch on. Unless you have another topic here that you...
No, I was going to close out with the Spanish and the Portuguese words.
Okay, really quickly. So, I wanted to touch on stories, right? So, we're all being told stories every single day through everything, through our phones, through people. Me and her have been able to avoid this. She's going to understand what I'm saying. Me and her have been able to avoid it because we've been gone for so long. And we haven't really been interacting with a lot of people, but gossip. Gossip, the stories that, like, I don't even know what gossip is at this point anymore. Like, I hear it now that I'm back in America, but since I've been away, I realize how toxic gossip has been.
Oh, yeah.
How much it has affected my life.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
The distractions. Right. I mean, you know, I can obviously attest to this just with music, just with, you know, every day of what you're actually putting your attention towards. But, you know, it's really best to really understand where you are heading, what direction you're going in.
Spending your energy.
And not really tapping into that vibe. I mean, it could be very toxic. You don't want to be around toxic energy. I'd probably say, like, just avoid that at all times.
Because you're telling your own story, and then when you hear other people's stories, and then you start to tell stories with them, you get sunk into their reality. Like, my thing is, personally, is to minimize the amount of stories that are in my reality so I can keep my story tight, and I can manifest it in the best way. A lot of people are looking for energy, so they'll come and tell you their story, or even like with the gossip sites and all that stuff. Like, it's cool to be entertaining sometimes, but when you get too deep in it, it becomes your life. Like, and you kind of forget about your own life when all you care about is Diddy or this or that or so much stuff. Distractions. So minimize distractions.
Right. I like that. Minimize distractions for you to continue to advance.
Right, like we're doing right now. Like we minimize the distractions in our life to be able to say, hey, let's focus, let's put this camera on, let's do it, let's show them us.
Right. Agree. Nice. So any closing? I guess statements?
Closing statements. One, love yourself.
Yes.
Love yourself and love your situation regardless of what it looks like.
Right. I'd say for me, closing, just be like a sponge. Just try to learn and soak up as much as possible of what's going on around you. Be aware of what's going on around you, and try to advance yourself and really protect yourself. You know, I am protected at all times. So really apply that in your everyday, every moment, every hour, every minute, and you'll see the results of that. So as we close out, a Spanish word that I would like to drop for you guys is Hola.
Hola.
Buenos días.
Buenos días.
Which means hello, good morning. And in Portuguese, Hola.
Hola.
Bom dia.
Bom dia.
So Hola.
Hola.
Bom dia.
Bom dia.
And that also means hello, good morning. So nice little takeaway. And it's great too because you actually get to see the similarities within both of the phrases and also how you enunciate and pronounce the words.
Well, learn a language.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to myself right now. Some shouts to put me on, but I don't be listening. And I am listening now, so let's go.
All right, let's get it. So thank you so much for tuning into the tribe. I hope you enjoyed yourself and stay tuned.
Thank you, Tribe.